Welcome. Whether you're cooking dinner, taking a walk, or unwinding before bed, this story is here to accompany you in whatever you're doing. It's an honest conversation about failure and hope, told from one person to another. No rush, no pressure, just a story about learning to rise again, no matter your age. I hope it brings you some comfort and encouragement wherever you are today. Good morning. I'm 71 years old now, and I am comfortable, financially, emotionally, and spiritually. But 15 years ago, I was broke, ashamed, and convinced that I was too old to ever succeed at anything. Between the ages of 48 and 57, I failed at 4 different businesses, 4 complete failures. Each one felt hit me harder than the last. People stopped returning my calls. My family was worried, and I worried about how much I was letting my family down. I lost many nights of sleep, lying awake, staring at the ceiling, trying to make sense of numbers that just did not add up. Then, at 58, something finally changed. The business I started became successful, not overnight, but steadily and for real. The kind of success that sticks around, the kind that means something because I paid the true cost to get there. Today, I want to share that journey with you, not because I have all the answers, but because I lived through what many of you might be facing now. Maybe you are in your 50s, have failed before, or you wonder if it is too late. Perhaps you doubt yourself more than ever. Before going on, I want to be clear. This is my personal story. This is not financial advice, nor a guaranteed path to success. Business is risky, especially when you are older and have more to lose. Some of my choices could have gone differently, or even worse. If you are thinking about starting a business or investing your hard-earned money, please consult the right professionals, accountants, business advisors, financial planners, who can help analyze your personal situation. Do not base your decisions on my experience alone. Use this story only to find perspective. This is my story of falling down and getting back up. A story told honestly, without lights and mirrors. I share it because I believe there are people listening who need to hear that failure after 50 is not the end, not proof you're incapable or too old, but can be the opening to something meaningful. First, I need to tell you about my darkest years, because to understand the success, you have to understand the weight of those failures. And you need to know that I once sat where some of you might be sitting now, feeling like I had lost everything that mattered. This is that story. Take from it what you can. Leave what you must. Your story is not finished. Sometimes the best chapters happen just when you think the book is almost closed. Let me take you back. I was 48 when I decided to open a restaurant. Now I know opening a restaurant is a common dream. You imagine creating a space where people gather. Good food, good company, something tangible and meaningful. I had spent over 20 years in corporate roles. I was good at my job, but I was tired. Tired of endless meetings and politics. Tired of making money for others while my own ambitions felt out of reach. I believed I had a solid plan. A casual fine dining concept in a neighborhood that was starting to grow again. I thought I had done my homework. I managed teams. I handled operations. But I did not understand the restaurant business. What I thought was relevant experience did not transfer at all. I underestimated how much food cost. I overestimated the number of customers who would come through the door. I hired too many people too fast because I wanted to be a good boss. But that kindness nearly killed the business. Every week for almost 2 years, we lost money. I worked 80-hour weeks, but it was not enough. My wife carried a brave face, though I could see the worry in her eyes. We stopped socializing. We stopped talking except about the losses. After 2 years, we closed. The doors locked and the dream ended. I had to tell my wife that all our savings, every penny we had put away, were gone. Years of hard work turned to dust. Failure after 50 hits, harder than failure when younger. At 25, failure is a lesson, something everyone expects. At 50, it feels like judgment. People start questioning your ability, your worth, even your judgment. I began to see myself that way. I thought maybe my past successes were luck. Still, everything that went wrong in that restaurant taught me important lessons. I learned about managing cash flow, hiring right, and understanding markets. I learned that passion alone does not make a business succeed. I learned how people act when things fall apart, and I felt the shame of letting people down. At the time, I saw these experiences as failure. But in truth, I was gaining a wisdom no book could give me. That knowledge would prove vital down the road. The restaurant taught me that success depends not on passion, but on understanding markets, managing money carefully, and knowing your limits. I had to learn this lesson the hard way. Failing once rarely stops people from trying again. Sometimes it's wisdom, sometimes stubbornness. I have not decided which it was in my case. A year after closing the restaurant, I started a consulting firm. I thought I had learned enough to help others succeed. After all, many of us believe that failing once gives us the right to teach. Consulting was different. It failed slowly. The restaurant's end was quick and obvious. Consulting dragged on, lingering. Clients came here and there. Some money arrived, but never enough to breathe easy. Marketing myself took more time than actual work. And to be honest, I didn't enjoy it. I kept telling myself it was because I hadn't found the right clients yet, but deep down, I simply did not want to be a consultant. I was already chasing another idea. A retail space opened nearby, and I jumped at the chance. Boutique retail. By then, I was 52. The consulting firm was sputtering. My wife told me to stop and think about what I wanted. I did not listen. Retail was tougher than the restaurant. On paper, it seemed simple. Rent a space, buy stock, open doors. But I had not checked the reality. The neighborhood had too many stores just like mine, some better placed, with more experience and resources. I was competing without a real advantage. Enthusiasm was not enough. Within 2 years, that business closed too. At 54, I had failed at 2 different ventures. I burned through savings shaped by decades of careful work. I used the home equity line of credit just to stay afloat. My wife and I barely spoke about business anymore. When you stop talking about it, you know things are bad. The pattern couldn't be ignored. I was failing the same way again and again. I chose businesses I didn't deeply understand. I underestimated competition. I overestimated my knowledge. Most importantly, I realized I was running from something, not towards something. I wasn't chasing the dream of starting a business. I was trying to prove I belonged in the world of entrepreneurs, that I wasn't just another corporate guy. When your business decisions come from trying to prove yourself rather than from building something, failure becomes almost inevitable. Business isn't about ego, it's about work. I did not see that back then. I was too caught in the struggle. What I did see was my family's growing worry. Not sympathy, but real doubt. I looked at my wife's face when the retail lease ended. No anger, no disappointment, fear, concern. The question, will this keep happening? And I had no answer. With every failure, it got harder. People saw me not as someone with setbacks, but a failed entrepreneur. Twice. By the time I was 55, frustration gave way to defeat. I had one last venture left in me, an online business I started too early. I did not understand the market or the customer. It was the wrong business, in the wrong place, at the wrong time. But before we talk about that failure, I want to share what it feels like inside. After 2 failures, with a third looming, you start to believe the negative story about yourself. You believe you no longer fit the mold of an entrepreneur. You accept that chances have run out. You start thinking you ought to settle for a quiet life instead. The world around you seems to agree. I first felt age discrimination deeply during this time. Not rude or obvious, but subtle looks and doubts when younger founders sized me up. When pitching investors, my experience seemed to work against me. Success in startups belonged to younger men with hunger, not to a man with grey hair and 3 failures behind him. My confidence, already fragile, crumbled. I stopped believing I could do this, and I doubted whether anyone else thought I could. Financial pressure mounted. Debt was real and pressing. My wife, once a full-time homemaker, returned to work because I had no income. I spent long days pretending I was working on the online business while mostly fighting anxiety. That online business proved to be my worst failure. It was built on every mistake I had made before, plus new ones I hadn't known I could make. I had no market research, no clear customer insight, just an idea and false hope. By 57, I was sitting alone early on a Tuesday morning, staring at a spreadsheet filled with bad numbers, and I thought about giving up completely. Change was slow and quiet. One afternoon, my wife asked me a simple question we hadn't spoken about for months. "What do you actually want to do?" I had no answer. For years, I had been chasing the idea of entrepreneurship without asking what I wanted to build or why. That question made space for honesty. For the first time, I said, "I want to help people. I want to work on something that interests me. I want to be around people I respect. And I want enough security so money isn't a constant worry." Not, "I want $1 million business." Not, "I want to prove them wrong." Just plain, honest wants. And then I saw clearly what my failures had taught me. Passion alone doesn't build a business. Cash flow matters. The team matters most. Humility is a strength, not a weakness. And crucially, I learned that sometimes you have to fail enough to stop trying to prove something. Then you can think clearly and act wisely. At 58, with nothing left to prove, I started my 5th business. This time, I moved slowly, asking real customers questions. I hired carefully. I didn't rush growth because I knew the cost of it. The business grew steadily, not fast. But it worked, and I liked going to work again. Within 5 years, this business earned more than any earlier venture. By 60, we were financially stable. But this success meant more than money. It helped me understand why success came late. If I had succeeded in my 20s, I might have believed my own hype and failed harder later. I might have been arrogant, surrounded by yes men, and missed the lessons only failure teaches. At 58, I knew my limits. I knew to listen, to hire others with expertise, to respect luck and timing, to protect my team and scale slowly. I paid dearly to gain that wisdom, with money lost, family nerves frayed, and nights spent in doubt. And I showed my wife that we could survive failure and rebuild, not just survive, but grow. Our relationship healed because I proved persistence matters. That failure is not the end, but part of the journey. At 71, I am at peace, comfortable, grateful. Looking back, those difficult years were necessary. They shaped me into someone who could build something lasting. Failure after 50 is different, but not worse. It is heavier, but richer in lessons. There is no time for mistakes born from pride, only time for lessons that matter. If you have failed or hesitate now, know this: your experience is not a liability, it is your greatest asset. Your failures are not proof you cannot succeed, they are lessons already paid for. And if it fails again, that is okay. Success is never guaranteed. Life is unpredictable, but the chance to try, to learn, and to grow makes trying worthwhile. My path was not easy. It was full of dark times, but it led me here, with hard-won peace and meaningful work. Your story is not finished. Keep writing. Better chapters lie ahead. I want to remind you once more, this is my story, my failures and eventual success. Your path will be different. That's perfectly fine. Business is risky, especially later in life. Fear and doubt are real. Do not ignore them. If you choose to try again, do so for the right reasons. Not to prove yourself, but to build something worthwhile. Failure is not the end. Learning from it can lay the foundation for success. No matter where you are today, know that you are not defined by your past. You are defined by what you do next. If you act with wisdom, not desperation, you have already begun to win. Thank you for listening to this story. If it resonated with you, please consider liking this video and subscribing for more honest conversations like this. I'd also love to hear from you. Feel free to share your own experience in the comment section.